So let's continue and now look at something known as pre-incorporation contracts. Pre-incorporation contracts. Pre-incorporation contracts. Pre-incorporation contracts, and write that these are contracts. These are contracts purported. These are contracts purported to be made by company, to be made by a company or its agent, to be made by a company or its agent at a time before the company has been formed, before the company has been formed. So that is what we call pre-incorporation contract. It is any contract that has been made a time before the company has been duly incorporated. And it is purported. To purport means it's like to arrange. It is said that it was made. Then down there we like that these contracts are governed by the following rules. Are governed by the following rules. Point number one. Since it is only after incorporation that the company acquires a legal personality and ability to have an agent. The company is not bound by any pre-incorporation contract. It's not bound by any pre-incorporation contract. So the issue here is when the agent purports or the promoter purports to have signed the contract on behalf of the company, that company was not in existence. It did not have the legal status. It did not have the legal personality. It did not have the contractual capacity. And consequently, it could not appoint who? Agents. Therefore, whatever was done, that does not bind the company. Number two, a company can never ratify. A company can never ratify a contract made on its behalf. Can never ratify a contract made on its behalf before it was incorporated. Before it was incorporated. Since non-existence defeats ratification. Non-existent defeats ratification. Again, from your commercial law, you came across agency law. And you are told that an agent can form a binding contract on behalf of the principal, even when the principal is not aware. And thereafter inform the principal. And when the principal is satisfied, he can ratify, he can agree that hata kama hii ulifanya without my prior permission and knowledge, I agree with it and I'm bound by that. But that, or rather, if you look at the requisites for any ratification to be legal, to be okay, there must have been what? Existence. So the company here was not in existence. So it cannot come and agree on that kind of a contract. Number 3, the agent who undertook any liability. The agent who undertook any liability is held personally liable. Is held personally liable. So if you are the one who did that, and this one was decided in the case of Kellner versus Bata. In the case of Kellner versus Bata of 1860. If you undertook any liability, then you'll be held personally liable. Another point, still very similar to what you already have said, is that a contract purportedly entered. A contract purportedly entered into by a non-existent, party is null and void. Null and void. So just like I've emphasized, if the company was not in existence, we cannot. Another point, number 5, is a mere recognition. A mere recognition or adoption. A mere recognition or adoption by directors of the pre-incorporation contract, creates no binding. Creates no binding relationship between the company. Creates no binding relationship between the company and third parties. And this is a case of North Sydney Investments versus Higgins. As I told you, I'll give you a list of these cases so that you can refer for the interest of time. So we are saying the fact that tumesema tumetambua there was that contract. We are aware, we have confirmed, is not enough. There are serious procedures that should be followed for that contract to be legally binding. And even with those procedures, there are some conditions that must be satisfied. So there are times you wish to follow the procedures, but if the conditions are not sufficient, then you cannot be allowed to ratify or to join into such a contract. So let's now look at what are the instances in which the company can recognize the pre-incorporation contract, or what happens for those pre-incorporation contracts. So Tladika, solutions or remedies for pre-incorporation contracts. Solutions through remedies for pre-incorporation contracts. Pre-incorporation contracts. Because what we are saying, if we are following that discussion, is like hizi contract zote tunazikataa. But as we know, on the flip side, is that contracts are binding, and someone must take responsibility somewhere. So who is this, and how do we go about it? And also bearing in mind that this guy was making an effort to bring a company into place, which he has actually done. So point number one, since the promoter is entitled to personally enforce the contract, he can pass the right to enforce. He can pass or transfer the right to enforce the contract, to the company. One of the rules to Besema is that when you join a contract, a pre-incorporation contract, you become personally liable. Therefore, it is upon you to ensure performance. So you have these rights to enforce compliance with the terms of the contract. And now that you have formed yourself into the company, you can transfer that right, and the company now enforces on your behalf. Kama kuna mtu tulikuwa sign a contract, maybe namdai pesa. So instead of writing the demand letter as money, now your demand letter is equal to the letter of Destiny. So Destiny now to come there and try to enforce. Number two, the contract remains. The contract remains a non-binding draft. Contract remains a non-binding draft until the company is incorporated. Until the company is incorporated. What this means is, unaingia kwa hiyo contract, but uhakikishe you don't complete everything that is required for it to be binding. For example, pale mwisho kuna kuanga na mahali where you sign na maybe kuna mpaka weaknesses. You can avoid to sign, or you can avoid to perform something else that will make the contract not to be binding. And you can even technically buy time as you wait for the company to be incorporated. Wait for the company to be incorporated. Number three is if the contract must be finalized. If the contract must be finalized before incorporation. For incorporation, it should contain a clause. It should contain a clause that the personal liability. It should contain a clause that the personal liability of the promoter, the personal liability of the promoter will cease when the company will be incorporated, when the company will be incorporated, and the company will enter, into a new contract. Company will enter into a new contract on identical terms. On identical terms. Brackets, innovation. So this is where we were saying, number 2, tumesema if it is possible, you can give the guy that you're dealing with a contract, but you do not fully complete it, waiting for the incorporation. But if the guy on the other side insists that this thing must be fully completed, then you can request, or you can have that you include a clause that says we are completing the contract here now, before the company is incorporated. But upon incorporation, the liability will shift from me to the company. And the company will enter into a new contract. Because when one of the parties moves out of the contract comes on it. So the company will enter into a new contract, but under the same terms. So that, we call it innovation. So as a promoter now, you are covered. Ukisukuma mzigo, ikifika hapo, unawaachia. Number 4, buy a company. You can buy a company off shelf. Brackets, I quotes, off shelf.